The iron chains bite into her wrists. Kira doesn't pull against them. She learned long ago that resistance only makes the metal cut deeper. They drag her through the stone corridor like a carcass meant for display. Her knees scrape the floor. Blood blooms through the thin fabric of her dress. She doesn't cry out. Behind her, the elders murmur in satisfaction. Good, she thinks. Let them believe I'm broken. The throne room doors groan open, and cold air rushes in sharp with pine and snow. The scent of power. The kind that doesn't ask permission. They shove her forward. She crashes onto the marble floor, palms slapping stone. Her hair falls across her face, tangled and damp with sweat. She stays down. Lets them see what they want to see. A wolf who disobeyed. A female who stepped out of line. A threat that needs to be eliminated. Elder Garrick's voice booms across the chamber, thick with triumph. Alpha King. We bring you the one who defied pack law. She entered the forbidden grove. She touched the old stones. She spoke words meant only for the dead. Silence swallows the room. Kira keeps her eyes on the floor, but her wolf stirs beneath her skin, restless, awake, waiting. She can feel him before she sees him. The weight of his presence presses down like a storm about to break. Footsteps echo, slow, deliberate, unhurried. He's coming closer. Her pulse hammers in her throat. The elders shift behind her, eager. They've been waiting for this. They want blood. They want her erased. But Kira didn't break the law by accident. She broke it because it was the only way to get his attention. The Alpha King stops 3 feet in front of her. She doesn't look up. Not yet. His shadow falls across her like a judgment she can't escape. And then he inhales. Slow, deep, deliberate. The air changes. The silence stretches. Kira feels the shift before anyone else does, the way the room holds its breath, the way the elders go still behind her. Something's wrong. Or right. She can't tell yet. The Alpha King's voice cuts through the tension, low and edged with something dangerous. Release her chains. No one moves. Elder Garrick clears his throat, confusion bleeding into his tone. My king, I didn't ask for an explanation. I gave an order. The command lands like a blade. Footsteps shuffle. Hands fumble with the iron locks at her wrists. The chains fall away with a metallic clatter that echoes too loud in the vast chamber. Kira's arms drop to her sides. Her wrists throb, raw and bruised. She still doesn't look up. The Alpha King crouches in front of her, close enough that she can feel the heat radiating from his body, close enough that his scent wraps around her like smoke and cedar and something wild she can't name. His hand appears in her line of vision. Palm up. Waiting. Stand. It's not a request. But it's not a threat either. Kira hesitates for only a heartbeat. Then she places her bloodied hand in his. His grip is firm, steady, impossibly warm. He pulls her to her feet with an ease that makes her feel weightless. And finally, she looks at him. Darius. The Alpha King. Dark hair, sharp jaw, eyes like molten gold that pierce straight through her. He's taller than she expected. Broader. But it's not his size that steals her breath. It's the way he's looking at her. Like he sees something no one else can. Like he's reading a language written beneath her skin. His eyes narrow slightly, his head tilting as if he's listening to something only he can hear. Then his gaze shifts cold and cutting to the elders behind her. You brought me a criminal. Elder Garrick steps forward, emboldened. Yes, my king. She violated sacred law. She smells like obedience. The words drop like stones into water. Garrick falters. I don't understand. Darius's joy tightens. His hand is still holding Kira's, and she feels his fingers tighten just slightly, a warning, or maybe a promise. You don't smell rebellion on her. You don't smell defiance. You smell fear, desperation, and something else. He pauses. His eyes lock onto hers again, and this time there's a flicker of something almost like recognition. She didn't break your law because she wanted to. Kira's breath catches. He knows. Somehow, impossibly, he knows. Darius releases her hand and rises to his full height, turning to face the council with an authority that makes the stone walls seem to lean inward. Tell me what law she broke. Elder Garrick stammers. She entered the grove of echoes. She touched the binding stones. She spoke the old words. All of it forbidden since. Since when? The question is sharp. Precise. Garrick hesitates. Since the plague, my king. 20 years ago. The law was written to protect the pack from what? Silence. No one answers. Darius's expression darkens, and Kira sees it the moment he stops being patient. Leave us. Garrick's face goes pale. My king, we cannot. Leave. Us. The command reverberates through the room like thunder. The elders exchange glances. Then, one by one, they bow stiffly and retreat through the heavy doors. The sound of the doors closing echoes like a final breath. And then it's just the two of them. Kira and the Alpha King. He turns back to her, and this time his voice is quieter. Almost gentle. You triggered this on purpose. She nods. Once. His eyes search hers. Why? Her voice comes out raw, barely above a whisper. Because you're the only one who can see it. See what? Kira's hands tremble at her sides. The curse they've been hiding. Darius doesn't move. Doesn't speak. But his eyes, those gold, unrelenting eyes, pin her in place like she's the only thing in the world that matters right now. Kira swallows hard. Her throat feels like glass. She's spent weeks preparing for this moment. Rehearsing the words. Building the courage. But now that he's standing in front of her, now that she has his full attention, everything inside her wants to run. Start at the beginning. His voice is calm. Patient. But there's steel underneath it. Kira wraps her arms around herself, trying to hold the pieces together. I wasn't always alone. The words taste bitter. I had a family. A mother. A sister. We lived on the western border of the pack, near the old forests. My mother was a healer. She knew the old songs. The ones from before the plague. Darius's expression doesn't change, but something flickers in his gaze. She continues. When I was 13, people started getting sick. Not like before. Not like the plague. This was different. Slow. It ate them from the inside. Made them forget who they were. Made them turn on each other. Her voice cracks, but she pushes through. My mother tried to help. She went into the Grove of Echoes, the place they now call forbidden. She said the sickness wasn't natural. She said it was tied to something buried in the land. Something the elders did. Kira's hands curl into fists. They found her there 3 days later. She was alive. But they said she'd broken sacred law. They said she'd cursed herself by going into the grove. Darius's jaw tightens. What happened to her? Kira's breath shudders. They exiled her. Stripped her of her wolf. Sent her beyond the borders to die. The room feels colder. My sister tried to fight for her. She stood before the council. She demanded answers. She asked why the grove was suddenly forbidden when it had been a place of healing for generations. Kira's voice drops to a whisper. They silenced her too. Accused her of conspiracy. They didn't exile her. They just made her disappear. Darius's hands clench at his sides. And you? Kira meets his gaze, and for the first time, she lets him see the raw truth of what she's carried alone for 7 years. They let me live. But only because I was young. Only because I promised to forget. To obey. To never ask questions. Her lips twist into something that isn't quite a smile. I've been obedient ever since. The perfect, silent wolf. I did everything they asked. I bowed my head. I followed every rule. She takes a breath. Until 3 weeks ago. Darius steps closer. His presence is overwhelming, but not in a way that makes her want to shrink. It makes her want to stand taller. What happened 3 weeks ago? Kira's voice hardens. I started dreaming. Every night. The same dream. My mother's voice calling me to the grove. Telling me this sickness is spreading again. Telling me it's in the laws themselves. Her eyes burn, but she doesn't let the tears fall. I didn't want to believe it. I thought I was going insane. But then I saw it. Saw what? The patterns. Kira's words come faster now, desperate to be heard. Every wolf who questioned the council in the last 20 years gone. Every healer who tried to use the old knowledge silenced. Every family that remembered what the grove used to be scattered. She steps closer to him, and her voice drops to something fierce and unbreakable. They're not protecting us from a curse, Alpha King. They're enforcing one. Darius's eyes blaze. And you broke the law to force my hand. Yes, because you knew they'd bring you to me. Yes, and you knew I'd smell the truth. Kira nods, her heart pounding so hard she's sure he can hear it. You're the only one with the authority to override the council. The only one who can investigate without their permission. The only one who can enter the grove and see what they've buried there. Darius stares at her for a long moment. Then, slowly, deliberately, he reaches out and tilts her chin up with one finger. His touch is gentle, but his words are not. If you're wrong, Kira, if this is paranoia or revenge, you've just signed your own death warrant. She doesn't flinch. I'm not wrong. His thumb brushes across her jawline, and something shifts in his expression, something almost like admiration. Then stay close to me. Because if you're right. He leans in, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. We're about to make a lot of very powerful enemies. Darius leads her through a side passage she didn't know existed. The stone walls narrow. The air grows colder. Torches flicker in iron brackets, casting shadows that stretch and twist like living things. Kira follows without question. Her mind is still spinning from the weight of his words. Stay close to me. She's spent 7 years invisible. Silent. Erased. And now the Alpha King himself is walking beside her like she matters. Like she's not just a broken wolf with a dangerous theory. They descend a spiral staircase that seems to go on forever. Down, down, down into the belly of the mountain where the pack's stronghold was built. Finally, they reach a heavy wooden door reinforced with iron. Darius places his palm against it. Kira hears a low hum, something ancient stirring beneath the surface, and then the door swings open on silent hinges. The room beyond takes her breath away. It's a library, but not like any she's ever seen. The walls are lined floor to ceiling with scrolls, books, tablets carved in stone. Some of the writing glows faintly, as if the ink itself holds light. In the center of the room stands a stone altar, and on it rests a single object. A crystal sphere, no larger than her fist, suspended in midair above the altar's surface. It pulses with a soft, silver light. Darius gestures toward it. The Moonstone Archive. It holds the true history of our people. Not the version the council teaches. Not the sanitized legends. The real story. Kira stares at the sphere, mesmerized. I didn't know this place existed. Most don't. Only the Alpha King and those he chooses to bring here. He moves to the altar, his movements careful, reverent. The council would prefer it stay forgotten. They rewrote our history once before. 20 years ago, after the plague. They burned the old records. Silenced the keepers of memory. Kira's stomach twists. Why? Darius's expression darkens. Because the truth made them uncomfortable. He places his hand over the sphere, and it flares brighter. Suddenly, the air around them shimmers. Images begin to form, translucent, flickering, like memories made visible. Kira sees wolves gathered in the grove of echoes. She sees healers with their hands on the binding stones, light flowing through them into the earth. She sees her mother. Younger. Smiling. Alive. Her breath catches. Darius's voice is steady, grounding her. The grove was never forbidden. It was sacred. A place where the pack's bond to the land was renewed. Where healers could draw strength from the old magic woven into the stones. The image shifts. Now she sees darkness spreading, creeping through the roots beneath the grove, poisoning the soil. She sees elders standing in a circle, chanting words that feel wrong. Words that twist the air. The plague wasn't natural, Darius continues. It was summoned. A binding ritual gone wrong. The council tried to control the land's magic, to hoard it for themselves. Kira's hands tremble. And when it backfired, they blamed the grove. They forbade anyone from going there. They silenced anyone who knew the truth. The images dissolve and the sphere dims. Darius turns to face her fully. But there's more. He reaches into his coat and pulls out a rolled parchment, aged and fragile. I found this 3 months ago, hidden in the oldest section of the archive. He unrolls it carefully on the altar. Kira steps closer, her eyes scanning the faded script. It's written in the old tongue, but she recognizes enough to piece together the meaning. When the land cries out in silence, when the stones forget their song, a daughter of the lost will rise, born of grief and forged in shadow. She will speak the words forbidden, and the Alpha King will hear. Together they will break the binding, or the pack will fall to ruin. Kira's blood runs cold. This is a prophecy, Darius finishes, written 200 years ago by the last true oracle of the pack. He looks at her with an intensity that makes her feel stripped bare. Your mother was a healer who entered the grove. Your sister was silenced for asking questions. You were the one left behind, the one who survived. His voice drops. The one who broke the law to bring me the truth. Kira shakes her head, backing away. No, I'm not. This isn't. You don't have to believe it yet. Darius's tone is gentle but unyielding. But the land does. The stones do. That's why you've been dreaming. That's why your mother's voice called you back. Kira's back hits the wall. Her heart is racing. I'm nobody. I'm just a wolf who lost everything. I don't have power. I don't have. You have exactly what you need. He closes the distance between them, and his presence is like gravity. You have the truth. You have the courage to speak it. And you have me. His hand rests on the wall beside her head, caging her in, not trapping her, but anchoring her. The prophecy says we do this together, Kira. I can't break the binding without you. And you can't survive what's coming without me. She searches his face, looking for doubt, for hesitation. She finds none. What if I'm not strong enough? Darius's expression softens, just barely. Then I'll be strong enough for both of us. Until you remember how to be. For a moment, neither of them moves. The archive hums softly around them, the ancient magic recognizing something it's been waiting for. Finally, Kira exhales. What do we do now? Darius's mouth curves into something dangerous. Now we go to the grove. And we make the council very, very afraid. They don't make it to the grove. The council is waiting for them at the top of the stairs. Kira sees them the moment she and Darius emerge from the hidden passage, 6 elders standing in formation, flanked by a dozen armed guards. Elder Garrick stands at the center, his expression carved from stone. Darius doesn't slow his stride. Move. Garrick doesn't flinch. We cannot allow this, my king. You don't have a choice. The girl has poisoned your mind. She's filling your head with lies about the council, about the grove. She's dangerous. Darius's voice drops to something lethal. Step aside, Garrick. The elder's jaw tightens. As your council, we have the right to intervene when the Alpha King's judgment is compromised. The words land like a blade between them. Kira feels the shift immediately, the way the guards' hands move to their weapons, the way the air thickens with tension. This isn't a conversation anymore. It's a standoff. Darius's power floods the corridor, a wave of dominance so strong it makes Kira's knees buckle. The guards falter. 2 of them drop their eyes, submitting instinctively. But Garrick holds his ground. You forget yourself, Alpha King. The council has stood for centuries. We are the guardians of law, of order. You may wear the crown, but you do not stand above tradition. Darius's smile is all teeth. And you forget that I am not my father. He takes a step forward, and the temperature in the corridor plummets. My father let you rewrite history. He let you silence the healers. He let you turn the grove into a graveyard and call it protection. Another step. I am not him. Garrick's composure cracks, just slightly. You would throw away centuries of stability for the word of a disgraced wolf? A girl whose mother was exiled for treason. Kira's chest tightens, but before she can speak, Darius's voice cuts through like a whip. Her mother was exiled for telling the truth. And you know it. Silence. Garrick's expression hardens into something cold and calculating. If you take her to the grove, my king, you force our hand. Is that a threat? It's a warning. The elder's gaze shifts to Kira, and there's nothing but ice in his eyes. The pack will not follow a king who abandons reason for the word of a traitor's daughter. They will not accept a ruler who tears down the laws that kept us safe. He pauses. You will lose them. Darius doesn't react, doesn't move. But Kira feels the weight of the choice pressing down on him. She knows what Garrick is doing. He's forcing Darius to choose between her and his throne, between the truth and his people. Her voice comes out smaller than she intended. He's right. Darius's head snaps toward her. Kira, if you take me to the grove now, they'll call it rebellion. They'll turn the pack against you. You'll lose everything. Her throat burns, but she forces the words out. I'm not worth that. Darius's eyes blaze. That's not your decision to make. Yes, it is. She steps away from him, toward the council, and every instinct in her body screams to stop. But she doesn't. I'll go back. I'll submit to whatever judgment the council demands. Just don't throw away your kingdom for me. Garrick's smile is thin and triumphant. A wise choice, girl. But Darius moves before anyone can react. He's in front of Kira in a heartbeat, his hand gripping her wrist, not hard, but firm enough to stop her. No. His voice is raw. I've spent my entire life watching this council bury the truth. Watching them erase history. Watching them destroy anyone who dared to ask questions. He turns to face Garrick, and his power rolls through the corridor like a storm breaking. I will not sacrifice her to keep their comfort intact. Garrick's expression darkens. Then you choose her over your pack. I choose the truth over your lies. The elder's face twists with fury. So be it. He raises his hand, and the guards move as one, circling, closing in. But they don't draw weapons. They form a barrier between Darius and the exit. Garrick's voice rings out, cold and formal. By the authority granted to the council in times of crisis, I invoke the right of separation. The Alpha King is hereby confined to the stronghold until a formal inquiry can be held into his fitness to rule. Kira's blood turns to ice. Darius goes very, very still. You're staging a coup. We're protecting the pack. Garrick's gaze shifts to Kira. And the girl will be held in the lower cells until her trial, where she belongs. 2 guards step toward her. Darius's snarl tears through the air. Touch her and I'll rip your throats out. The guards freeze. But Garrick just smiles. You can try, my king. But if you attack the council's guards, you prove our point. You prove that your judgment is compromised. That you're unfit to rule. It's a trap. A perfect, vicious trap. If Darius fights, he loses his legitimacy. If he submits, they take Kira away. And without him, she has no protection. No chance. Kira meets Darius's eyes, and she sees the war raging inside him. She makes the choice before he can. She pulls her wrist free from his grip and steps toward the guards. I'll go. Kira, no. If you fight them now, you lose everything. But if you let me go. Her voice cracks, but she holds his gaze. You'll still be king. And kings can overturn council judgments. Darius's jaw clenches so hard she hears his teeth grind. But he doesn't move. The guards take her arms gentler than before, but firm, and begin to lead her away. She doesn't look back. She can't. Because if she does, she knows he'll break. And so will she. Garrick's voice follows her down the corridor, cold and satisfied. Take her to the stone cell. No visitors. No exceptions. The last thing Kira hears before the darkness swallows her is Darius's voice, low, dangerous, and full of a promise that makes her heart ache. This isn't over. The stone cell is exactly what she expected. Cold, dark, silent. A single barred window high on the wall lets in a sliver of moonlight, just enough to see the outline of the iron door. Kira sits on the narrow bench carved into the stone and wraps her arms around herself. She doesn't cry. She's cried enough in her life. Tears don't change anything. But the silence, the suffocating, absolute silence, presses down on her like a weight she can't lift. Hours pass. Maybe days. She loses track. They bring her water once. Stale bread. No one speaks to her. She's alone with her thoughts, and that's the worst prison of all. Because all she can think about is the look in Darius's eyes when she walked away. The way his whole body had tensed, like it was taking everything in him not to tear the guards apart. The way he'd said her name. Kira. Like it meant something. Like she meant something. She closes her eyes and leans her head back against the cold stone. Maybe Garrick was right. Maybe she did poison Darius's judgment. Maybe she's just a broken wolf clinging to a prophecy that was never about her. The sound of the lock turning snaps her back to the present. The door swings open, and Darius steps inside. Kira's breath catches. He's not supposed to be here. The council forbade visitors. But he's here anyway, and he looks like he's been through hell. His jaw is tight. His eyes are shadowed. His shirt is unbuttoned at the collar, like he dressed in a hurry. He closes the door behind him and leans against it, just staring at her. Neither of them speaks. The silence stretches, heavy with everything they haven't said. Finally, Kira breaks. You shouldn't be here. I know. If the council finds out. I don't care. His voice is rough, raw. He pushes off the door and crosses the small space in 2 strides, crouching in front of her so they're eye to eye. I haven't slept since they took you. Kira's throat tightens. Darius. I keep seeing the look on your face when you walked away. Like you believed you deserved this. Like you believed you were worth sacrificing. His hand lifts, hesitates, then gently cups her cheek. His thumb brushes away a smudge of dirt she didn't know was there. You're not. Kira's chest aches. I made the choice I had to make. You made the choice you thought would save me. His eyes search hers, and there's something almost desperate in them. But I don't need saving, Kira. I need you to stop trying to disappear. She shakes her head, pulling back slightly. You don't understand. I've spent 7 years being no one. Being invisible. That's how I survived. And I'm telling you, you don't have to survive anymore. His other hand comes up to frame her face, and his touch is so gentle it breaks something inside her. You can live. You can fight. You can matter. Kira's eyes burn. What if I don't know how? Darius's expression softens. Then I'll teach you. For a moment, they just breathe. The cell feels smaller. Warmer. Like the rest of the world has fallen away, and there's only this fragile, impossible connection between them. Kira's voice drops to a whisper. Why are you doing this? Why do you care so much about what happens to me? Darius's jaw tightens. He looks like he's wrestling with something, deciding how much to say. Finally, he exhales. Because I know what it's like to be silenced. Kira blinks. What? He drops his hands from her face and sits back on his heels, his gaze distant. My father was a good king. Strong. Fair. But he trusted the council too much. He believed they had the pack's best interests at heart. His voice hardens. When I was 16, I found records in the archive. Documents that showed the council had been manipulating trade agreements, hoarding resources, controlling which families gained power and which were pushed to the edges. Kira listens, silent. I brought it to my father. I thought he'd be furious. I thought he'd hold them accountable. Darius's laugh is bitter. Instead, he told me to forget what I'd seen. He said the council's methods were harsh, but necessary. He said questioning them would destabilize the pack. He looks at her, and there's old pain in his eyes. He chose their comfort over the truth. And I hated him for it. Kira's heart clenches. Darius. When he died and I took the throne, I swore I'd be different. I swore I'd never let them bury the truth again. His gaze sharpens, focusing on her. And then you walked into my throne room, beaten and chained, and I smelled it on you. The same thing I felt when I was 16. He leans in closer. Desperation. Fury. Truth that no one wants to hear. His voice drops to something achingly soft. I care because you're the proof that I was right to fight them. That there is something rotten beneath the surface. And I'm not going to let them erase you the way they erased everyone else who dared to see it. Kira's breath shudders. You barely know me. I know enough. His hand finds hers, fingers threading through hers like it's the most natural thing in the world. I know you broke the law to save your pack, even though they've given you nothing but pain. I know you walked into that throne room ready to die if it meant exposing the truth. I know you're stronger than you think you are. His thumb strokes across her knuckles. And I know that if I lose you to the council's games, I'll never forgive myself. Kira stares at him, and something inside her shifts. Cracks open. Let's light in. What happens now? Darius's mouth curves into something that's almost a smile. Now, I break you out of here. Her eyes widen. You can't. I can. And I will. He stands, pulling her to her feet with him. The council thinks they've trapped me. They think I'll sit quietly in the stronghold while they stage their inquiry and twist the narrative. His eyes gleam with something dangerous. They're wrong. Kira's pulse races. What are you planning? Darius's grip on her hand tightens. We're going to the Grove. Tonight. And we're going to break whatever curse they buried there. They'll call it treason. Let them. He steps closer, and suddenly there's no space between them. His forehead rests against hers, and his voice drops to a whisper that feels like a vow. I'd rather be a traitor who stood with you than a king who looked away. Kira's breath catches. And for the first time in 7 years, she lets herself believe. Maybe she's not alone anymore. Maybe she never will be again. Okay, she whispers. Darius pulls back just enough to meet her eyes. Okay, she nods. Let's go to the Grove. His smile is fierce and full of promise. Stay close to me. Always. They make it to the Grove. Barely. Darius leads her through passages she never knew existed, servant corridors, forgotten tunnels, pathways carved into the mountain itself. They move in silence, his hand never leaving hers. By the time they reach the forest's edge, the moon is high and full, casting everything in silver light. The Grove of Echoes lies ahead. Kira feels it before she sees it, a pull in her chest, like a thread being tugged from the inside. The trees here are ancient. Twisted. Their bark is black, their branches bare even though it's not winter. And in the center of the grove, the binding stones rise from the earth like fingers clawing toward the sky. 7 stones. Taller than a man. Covered in symbols that glow faintly in the moonlight. Darius stops at the grove's entrance. This is it. Kira nods, her heart pounding. She can feel the wrongness radiating from the stones. It's thick in the air, coating her lungs, making it hard to breathe. This place should feel sacred. Instead, it feels like a wound that never healed. Darius steps forward first, and Kira follows. The moment they cross into the grove, the temperature drops. Frost spreads across the ground beneath their feet, unnatural and sudden. And then voices. Whispers, layered and overlapping, rising from the stones themselves. Kira can't make out the words, but she feels their weight. Grief. Anger. Betrayal. She moves toward the center stone, drawn by something she doesn't understand. Her hand lifts, trembling, and hovers inches from the carved surface. Kira, wait. But she's already touching it. The world explodes. Light floods her vision, blinding, searing, too bright to look at. Images crash into her mind like waves, brutal and relentless. She sees the council. Younger versions of them, 20 years ago, standing in this very grove. She sees them chanting. Blood on their hands. Blood on the stones. She sees them binding something dark and writhing and desperate, into the earth itself. And she hears their words. Let the land forget. Let the wolves obey. Let the truth be buried. Let the old ways die. The binding wasn't meant to protect the pack. It was meant to control them, to sever their connection to the land, to the old magic, to the knowledge that made them more than just predators. The council didn't stop a curse. They created one, and her mother had discovered it. Kira gasps, yanking her hand back, and the visions shatter. She stumbles backward, and Darius catches her before she falls. What did you see? She can't speak, can't breathe, because she knows now. She knows everything. And it's so much worse than she thought. A voice cuts through the silence. Cold. Familiar. Inevitable. I warned you, my king. Kira's blood turns to ice. Elder Garrick steps into the grove, flanked by a dozen guards. But it's not just him. The entire council is here. 6 elders. 20 armed wolves. All of them standing at the grove's edge, forming a circle that traps Kira and Darius at the center. Garrick's expression is carved from stone. You've forced our hand. Darius moves in front of Kira, shielding her. You knew we'd come here. Of course we did. Garrick's smile is thin and cruel. Did you truly think you could sneak through the stronghold unnoticed? That we wouldn't have eyes on you? He takes a step forward. We let you leave. We let you come here. Because now, in front of the entire pack. He gestures, and Kira sees them, dozens of wolves emerging from the trees, watching from the shadows. Witnesses. You've proven exactly what we said. That your judgment is compromised. That you've chosen a traitor over your people. Darius's voice is deadly calm. The only traitors here are standing in front of me. Garrick's expression doesn't change. You have no proof. She touched the stones. She saw what you did. The ramblings of a desperate girl are not evidence, my king. Darius's hands curl into fists. I am your alpha. I am ordering you to stand down. And we are invoking the blood right. The words land like a death sentence. Kira's breath stops. The blood right. She's heard of it in stories. An ancient law, older than the council itself. If the council believes the Alpha King is unfit to rule, they can challenge him. Not with words. With blood. Garrick's voice rings out, formal and final. Darius, Alpha King of the Northern Pax, you are hereby challenged under the blood right. You will face trial by combat. If you win, your rule is absolute. If you lose, he pauses. The council takes control. And the girl dies for her crimes. Darius's whole body goes rigid. You can't. We can. And we have. Garrick's gaze shifts to Kira, and there's nothing human in his eyes. She's seen too much. She knows too much. And she will not leave this grove alive. Kira's legs threaten to give out. But Darius's voice cuts through the panic, strong and unshakable. I accept the challenge. Garrick nods slowly. Then choose your opponent. Another figure steps forward from the line of guards. Kira's heart stops. It's not a guard. It's a wolf she recognizes. Torin. Darius's younger brother. He's taller than she remembered. Broader. His eyes are cold, his expression unreadable. And he's looking at Darius like he's already decided how this ends. Darius's voice is hoarse. Torin, don't do this. Torin's jaw tightens. You left me no choice, brother. They're manipulating you. They're using you. They open my eyes. Torin steps into the center of the grove, his movements controlled, deliberate. You've become weak. Distracted. You're willing to throw away everything father built for a girl who means nothing. His gaze flicks to Kira, and there's contempt in it. She's poison. And if you can't see that, then you don't deserve the throne. Darius's expression shatters. And Kira sees it the moment he realizes the council didn't just trap him. They turned his own brother against him. Garrick's voice echoes through the grove. The challenge is set. Darius of the Northern Pax versus Torin of the Northern Pax. To the death or submission. He raises his hand. Let the blood rite begin. The guards close in, forcing Darius and Torin into the center of the grove. Kira tries to move, to reach him, but rough hands grab her arms and hold her back. She struggles, screaming his name. But Darius doesn't look at her. He's staring at his brother. And the grief in his eyes is unbearable. Torin shifts, bones cracking, fur rippling across his skin, and in seconds, a massive black wolf stands where he was. Darius shifts too, his wolf larger, silver-gray and scarred from 100 battles. They circle each other. Brothers. Enemies. And Kira knows, with a certainty that crushes her. No matter who wins, Darius loses everything. The first strike is brutal. Torin lunges, teeth bared, and Darius barely dodges in time. They collide in a tangle of fur and fury, claws tearing, jaws snapping. The sound is horrific, snarls and growls that echo through the grove like the earth itself is screaming. Kira watches, held in place by iron grips on both arms, and every instinct in her body is screaming at her to do something. But there's nothing she can do. She's powerless. Again. Always. Darius fights like he's holding back. Like even now, even with his life on the line, he can't bring himself to truly hurt his brother. Torin has no such hesitation. He goes for the throat. Darius twists away, but not fast enough. Claws rake across his shoulder, tearing through fur and muscle. Blood sprays across the frost-covered ground. Kira's scream tears from her throat. Stop. Please stop this. No one listens. Garrick watches with cold satisfaction. The council stands silent. The gathered wolves look on like this is justice. Like this is right. Darius staggers, limping now, blood soaking into his fur. Torin circles him, relentless. And Kira feels it building inside her, something hot and furious and desperate. The same feeling she had the night her mother was taken. The same feeling she had when her sister disappeared. The feeling she's buried for 7 years because it was too dangerous. Too wild. Too much. Her wolf claws at the inside of her chest, howling to be set free. But she's always been too afraid. Afraid of what she might become. Afraid of what they'd do to her if they knew. Torin lunges again, and this time Darius doesn't dodge. He takes the hit full force, crashing into the ground with a sickening thud. He doesn't get up. Kira's heart stops. Torin stands over him, jaws open, ready for the killing blow. And something inside Kira breaks. She doesn't think. She just moves. The guards holding her barely have time to react before power floods through her raw, ancient, furious. She rips free from their grip with a strength that shouldn't be possible. Her hands slam into the ground. And the grove wakes up. Light explodes from the binding stones, not the sickly glow from before, but something blinding and pure. The symbols carved into the stone blaze like fire. The earth trembles. Roots burst from the ground, thick as a man's arm, wrapping around the guards, around the council, pinning them in place. Garrick's eyes go wide with shock. Impossible. But Kira isn't listening. She's walking toward the center of the grove, and with every step, the air around her shimmers. Her wolf rises to the surface, not shifting, not yet, but present in a way it's never been before. Her voice echoes through the grove, layered with something that sounds like a dozen voices speaking at once. You bound this land. You silenced its voice. You severed us from the magic that made us whole. The light from the stones grows brighter. You did it to control us, to keep us weak, to make sure no one could challenge you. She stops in front of Darius and Torin. Torin is frozen, staring at her like he's seeing a ghost. Darius is still on the ground, bleeding, but his eyes are locked on hers, and there's awe in them. Kira kneels beside him, placing her hand on his chest. Warmth floods through her fingertips, into him, and she watches as the wounds begin to close. Not completely. Not perfectly. But enough. She stands, turning to face the council. Garrick is struggling against the roots, his face twisted with fury. You have no authority here, girl. You're nothing. I am the daughter of the wolf you exiled for seeing the truth. Her voice is steady now. Clear. I am the sister of the wolf you erased for asking questions. She takes a step toward him. I am the one your prophecy warned you about. The light from the stones pulses in rhythm with her heartbeat. And I am done being silent. She raises her hand, and the largest stone, the one in the center, cracks down the middle. The binding shatters. The wrongness that's been suffocating the grove for 20 years dissolves like smoke. And suddenly, Kira can feel it, the land, the magic, the connection that should have always been there. It rushes into her like a river breaking through a dam. She gasps, nearly collapsing under the weight of it. But Darius is there, human again, bloodied and bruised but standing. He catches her, steadies her. His voice is rough. Kira. I see it now, she whispers. I see what they took from us. She turns to the gathered wolves, to the pack that's been watching in stunned silence. They made us forget who we were. They severed our bond to the land so we'd be easier to control. So we'd stop questioning. Stop resisting. Her voice rises. But the land remembers. The stones remember. And now, so do I. The roots holding the council loosen, dropping them to the ground. But none of them move. They're staring at her like she's something they don't recognize. Something they can't control. Garrick's voice is hoarse, desperate. The pack will never follow you. You're an outcast. A traitor's daughter. She's the oracle. The voice comes from the crowd. An old woman steps forward, her eyes milky with age but sharp with recognition. Kira doesn't know her. But the woman knows her. I was there when your mother entered the grove 20 years ago. I was there when she discovered what the council had done. The woman's voice cracks. And I was too afraid to speak. Too afraid to help her. She looks at Kira with tears streaming down her face. But I see you now, child. I see what you carry. The gift your mother had. The gift the council tried to bury. She drops to one knee. And I will follow you. Silence. Then, one by one, other wolves step forward. They kneel. Not to the council. To her. Kira's breath catches. Darius's hand finds hers, squeezing gently. And for the first time in her life, Kira doesn't feel small. She feels whole. Garrick's face twists with rage. This isn't over. You've broken sacred law. You've destroyed the binding. The pack will fall into chaos. The pack will heal. Darius's voice cuts through like steel. He steps forward, standing beside Kira, his presence radiating authority. The council is dissolved. Effective immediately. Garrick's eyes go wide. You can't. I can. And I have. Darius's gaze sweeps across the gathered wolves. The blood right was invoked. I survived. Which means my rule is absolute. He looks down at his brother, still in wolf form, still frozen in place. Torin. Stand down. For a long moment, Torin doesn't move. Then, slowly, he shifts back to human. He's shaking. His eyes are wet. They told me you'd gone mad. They told me she was manipulating you. His voice breaks. I'm sorry, brother. I'm so sorry. Darius's expression softens, just barely. Go home, Torin. We'll talk later. Torin nods and stumbles away, disappearing into the trees. Darius turns back to the council. You have 1 hour to leave pack territory. If you're still here after that. His smile is cold. You won't like what happens next. The elders exchange glances. Then, without another word, they scatter into the shadows. The grove falls silent. The gathered wolves slowly disperse, murmuring among themselves, the shock still written on their faces. Until it's just Kira and Darius, standing in the center of the grove, surrounded by shattered stones and moonlight. Kira exhales, her whole body trembling. What just happened? Darius's laugh is quiet and disbelieving. You broke a 20-year-old curse, claimed your power, and overthrew the council. He cups her face in his hands, his eyes blazing with something that makes her heart stutter. You were incredible. Kira's throat tightens. I didn't know I could do that. I did. His forehead rests against hers. I knew from the moment I saw you. And then, finally, he kisses her. It's gentle and fierce all at once, full of everything they've survived to get to this moment. When they pull apart, Kira is breathless. What happens now? Darius's smile is slow and full of promise. Now we rebuild. Together. 3 days later, Kira stands at the edge of the grove again. But this time, she's not running. This time, she's not afraid. The binding stones are still broken, but something new is growing between the cracks, small shoots of green, tender and persistent, pushing through the frost-covered earth. Life, returning to a place that's been dead for 20 years. She hears footsteps behind her and doesn't need to turn to know it's him. Darius's presence has become as familiar as her own heartbeat. He stops beside her, close enough that their shoulders touch. For a long moment, neither of them speaks. They just watch the sun rise over the grove, painting everything in gold and pink. Finally, Darius breaks the silence. The pack is asking questions. Kira's stomach tightens. About me. About everything. The binding. The council. What comes next? He pauses. They want to know if you'll stay. Kira turns to look at him. Do you want me to stay? His answer is immediate, steady, unshakable. Yes. The word hangs between them like a vow. Kira's chest aches. I don't know how to be what they need. I'm not a leader. I'm not. You don't have to be anything but yourself. Darius's hand finds hers, threading their fingers together. You broke a curse the council spent 20 years enforcing. You spoke truth when everyone else was too afraid. You stood in front of the entire pack and showed them what they'd forgotten. His grip tightens. That's more than enough. Kira looks down at their joined hands. 7 years ago, she lost everything. Her mother. Her sister. Her place in the world. She became invisible. Silent. Safe. But safety came at a cost. And now, standing here, with the grove waking up around her, with Darius beside her, she realizes something. She doesn't want to be safe anymore. She wants to be alive. Okay, she whispers. Darius's eyes widen slightly. Okay. She turns to face him fully, and for the first time in her life, she doesn't doubt herself. I'll stay. I'll help rebuild. I'll stand with you. His smile is brilliant and devastating. Good. Because I'm not letting you go. He pulls her close, wrapping his arms around her, and Kira lets herself sink into the warmth of him. But even as she does, a question lingers in the back of her mind. A whisper she can't quite silence. The council is gone. The binding is broken. But the prophecy said something else. Something she hasn't told Darius yet. Together they will break the binding. Or the pack will fall to ruin. They broke the binding. But the prophecy didn't say what comes after. And late at night, when she closes her eyes, Kira still hears her mother's voice. Still hears the warning she couldn't quite make out in the visions. The binding was a seal, daughter. Not a curse. And you just broke it open. Kira pulls back slightly, looking up at Darius. What if breaking the binding wasn't the end? His brow furrows. What do you mean? What if it was just the beginning? Before he can answer, a sound echoes through the grove. Distant. Low. Unnatural. A howl that doesn't belong to any wolf Kira's ever heard. It's coming from deep in the forest. From the place beyond the borders. From the place her mother was sent to die. Darius's whole body goes rigid. What was that? Kira's blood turns cold. Because she knows. Deep in her bones, she knows. The binding wasn't keeping them in. It was keeping something out. And now, it's free. She looks at Darius and sees the same realization dawning in his eyes. We have to go back, she says. We have to warn the pack. But even as the words leave her mouth, she knows it might already be too late. Because whatever was sealed beneath the grove for 20 years is awake now. And it's coming for them. The grove stands silent in the early morning light. But if you listen closely, if you're brave enough to stay, you can hear it. The sound of something ancient stirring. The sound of a reckoning no one saw coming. Kira and Darius broke the curse. But some curses are also cages. And they just opened the door. If this story stirred something inside you, if you felt Kira's fear and Darius's devotion and that haunting question of what comes next, you already know where to find more. Welcome to Shayla's Romance Library, where every story leaves you breathless, where every ending is just the beginning. Stay a little longer. There's so much more to discover.